So by the time we hit 2026, you're probably going to end up handing over your most intimate, your most messy and embarrassing childhood memories to an artificial intelligence.
Right, yeah, which sounds entirely like science fiction, I know.
It really does. But I mean, you'll be doing this just so it can book your next vacation.
Exactly.
And today, we're looking at exactly that, how our earliest firsts and like our most mortifying cafeteria disasters are secretly driving a massive, multi-billion-dollar global travel industry.
It's a huge shift.
Welcome to the deep dive. We've got an incredibly eclectic stack of sources to go through with you today.
We really do.
Yeah, we are pulling from all over the place. Cultural reflections, some highly specific personal anecdotes about growing up, and then this deeply analytical economic report from Sky News Arabia.
And that report is specifically detailing global travel trends for the year 2026.
Right. And our mission today is simple, but I mean, it's vast. We are basically mapping the anatomy of human memory.
Which is a remarkably difficult terrain to map, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, it isn't like looking at the grid of a city where the streets are fixed and objective.
Right.
When we try to cartograph our own past, we're dealing with a landscape that actively shifts, it fades, and it frequently just rewrites itself depending on our current emotional state.
So we really have to start at the absolute baseline then, like the very beginning of that map.
Definitely.
I want to look at how early childhood experiences, and specifically that universally dreaded first day of school.
Oh, the worst.
Right. How that establishes the fundamental neurological architecture for how we connect as human beings.
It's so foundational.
It is. There's this deeply relatable, well-documented conversation in our sources between two young students, Manha and Umar. And it just captures this perfectly.
It's a great example.
So Umar is a brand new student at this massive school. We're talking like over 1,000 students in the building.
That is huge for a kid.
Right. You can instantly picture the sheer scale of those cinder block hallways just looming over him. And he openly admits he is feeling incredibly nervous.
And we really need to look at exactly why that nervousness occurs, because it isn't just a fleeting childhood emotion.
No.
No, from an evolutionary psychology standpoint, being dropped into an unfamiliar, enclosed environment populated by 1,000 strangers, that is an active, high-threat scenario for a social primate.
Wow.
Yeah, his amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain, is literally flooding his system with cortisol.
Wait. High threat.
Yes.
Are you saying a 10-year-old walking into a crowded cafeteria holding a lunchbox is experiencing the exact same physiological response as an early human facing a predator in the wild?
I mean, on a neurochemical level, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
That is wild.
The brain doesn't distinguish between a literal tiger and the social threat of absolute isolation in a new tribe.
Oh.
Right. In both scenarios, the body is preparing for survival because historically, isolation meant death.
So he's not just being shy.
Exactly. Umar isn't just being shy. His nervous system is actively screaming at him to find a safe harbor.
And the way he and Manha build that safe harbor is so fascinating, just because of its absolute simplicity.
It really is simple, but brilliant.
They just start by exchanging greetings, right? He says, "My name is Umar." She says, "Nice to meet you."
Which seems so basic to us now.
Yeah, but Manha actively validates his nerves in that moment. She essentially tells him, your fear response is completely normal here.
That validation is key.
And then they discover they're both assigned to class 10s. And then the absolute linchpin of the interaction happens.
The shared hobbies.
Yes, they uncover shared hobbies. Umar mentions he likes reading and football. And Manha connects with that instantly.
Let's dissect the mechanics of that specific interaction if we can.
Yeah, please.
Because that is where the architecture is built. On the surface, to an adult listening in, it just sounds like mundane small talk.
Right, just kids chatting.
But underneath, they are rapidly constructing a survival mechanism.
How so?
Well, by confirming they are both in class 10, they instantly establish an in-group connection.
Oh.
It's a boundary line. Out of 1,000 potential threats, they now belong to the same microtribe.
That makes so much sense.
And by sharing hobbies like reading, football, they transition in each other's minds from unknown, unpredictable entities into predictable, relatable peers.
So they effectively shrink the map.
Exactly.
The school is no longer this terrifying grid of 1,000 strangers. It's just the path from the front door to the one person who likes football.
Precisely. And that 10-second conversation is the foundational blueprint for how human beings survive the overwhelming scale of the modern world for the rest of their lives.
We just do that forever.
Pretty much. We constantly shrink our environments down to the one friendly face in class 10.
Which makes sense of why these memories are so incredibly sticky for us.
Oh, absolutely.
It isn't just about surviving the threat of the first day. It is about the pure, concentrated joy that gets permanently imprinted on our brains during those early years when we actually do find that safety.
Yes, the relief is palpable.
And our sources are packed with these magical, highly specific micro moments.
They really are.
For instance, there's a memory detailed here of an 8-year-old building a backyard treehouse with their dad.
Right, I remember reading that one.
But the source doesn't just call it a treehouse. It is explicitly defined as a secret hideout.
And the terminology there is so vital.
Is it?
Yes. A secret hideout is a crucial developmental milestone in childhood psychology.
Really? How come?
Because it represents the very first autonomous space a human being claims. It's a physical zone where the child dictates the narrative and the rules.
Oh, like they're the boss.
Exactly. It's completely separate from the overwhelming authority of the adult world.
That's fascinating.
Yet, crucially, they only feel secure enough to inhabit that autonomous space because they are safely tethered to the adult world.
Right, because the father helped build it.
Exactly. It's the perfect balance of independence and ultimate safety.
That balance is everything, isn't it?
It really is.
It actually reminds me of another memory in the stack. The surprise snow day.
Ah, those are the best.
Think about what a snow day actually is to a child. You wake up, you look out the window, and the rigid, inescapable rules of reality like school, schedules, homework, they are just suddenly suspended by nature.
It's like a glitch in the matrix for a kid.
Yeah. And the source describes the snow with incredible sensory detail. Crisp, powdery, completely untouched by footprints.
The sensory aspect is huge.
Right. So they go out to build a snowman, and the memory hinges on these tiny, tiny anchors. Like a carrot for a nose and eyes made out of mismatched buttons stolen from a mother's sewing box.
I want to highlight how sensory heavy that description is, because memory doesn't function like a video file saved on a hard drive.
It doesn't.
No, not at all. It is a multi-sensory, scattered encoding process.
Okay, break that down for us.
Sure. When that child feels the powdery texture of the snow and they breathe in that sharp, crisp winter air and then visually lock onto the specific color of those sewing box buttons, different regions of the brain are firing simultaneously.
So it's all fragmented in the moment.
Exactly.
So how does it all bind together into one cohesive memory that actually survives for decades?
Dopamine.
Really?
Yeah.
Just dopamine.
Well, it's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
When we experience an emotionally charged event, especially one characterized by pure, unadulterated joy or genuine surprise, like the rules of reality being suspended for a snow day, the brain releases a massive wave of dopamine. And dopamine acts like a neurological highlighter pen.
A highlighter pen. I like that.
Yeah, it washes over the hippocampus and the amygdala, and it basically signals to the brain, hey, this exact combination of sensory inputs is highly valuable. Encode this permanently.
Wow. That neurological highlighter pen perfectly explains why we remember the adults who shaped us during those years with such terrifying clarity.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because the sources dedicate a lot of time to the profound, life-altering impact of teachers.
It plays such a massive role.
There's a specific anecdote about Mrs. Romano, a fifth-grade teacher.
Right, the essay story.
Yeah. A student hands in an essay, and instead of just grading it, Mrs. Romano stands up, reads it aloud to the entire class, and essentially injects a lifetime supply of confidence into that kid's bloodstream in about 3 minutes.
It's incredible. What we are seeing there is the power of external validation intersecting with a critical developmental window.
A developmental window.
Yes. When a child is 10 or 11, their internal self-concept is highly malleable. I mean, they don't actually know who they are yet.
They're a blank slate, sort of.
Or at least they're looking for someone to tell them what their map looks like.
Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly that. They rely on authority figures to provide the coordinates.
So when she reads the essay...
Right. When Mrs. Romano reads that essay aloud, she isn't just praising sentence structure. She is holding up a mirror to that student.
Oh, wow.
And the reflection she shows them is a capable, talented, intelligent version of themselves. And we carry those specific mirrors with us for the rest of our lives.
The sources actually mention a few other mirrors.
Let's hear them.
There's Mr. Henderson, a high school art teacher.
I loved this one.
Right. His entire philosophy was that art is about raw expression. not technical perfection.
Which is huge for a kid to hear.
Think about how radical that is for a teenager. It completely rewrites the standard grading rubric of a young person's life.
It really does.
It teaches them that their internal, messy voice has intrinsic value, regardless of whether they can draw a perfectly symmetrical circle.
Exactly.
Or there's Mrs. Patterson, the English teacher, who completely bypassed the standard curriculum, handed a student specific outside reading materials tailored just for them, and made them actually believe they could become a writer.
See, these aren't just educators imparting academic facts.
What are they then?
They are architects. They are constructing a child's fundamental identity.
That's a heavy responsibility.
It is. Think about it. If Mr. Henderson had criticized a messy painting, that student might have internalized a mirror reflecting failure and then spent the next 30 years avoiding creative risk entirely.
Let me throw a theory at you, then.
Okay, go for it.
If these foundational moments, like the safe harbor of Umar's conversation, the autonomy of the treehouse, the mirrors handed to us by teachers, if they were so incredibly powerful, why does it feel like we never quite graduate from them?
That's a great question.
I mean, I think about Umar's anxiety on the first day of school, and I compare it to starting a new corporate job as a 35-year-old adult.
Oh, it's so similar.
You walk into a sterile, glass-walled office building. You don't know where the bathrooms are. You don't know the unwritten rules of the break room. And you have that exact same visceral pit-in-your-stomach panic of desperately needing to find a friendly face in the cafeteria.
Yep.
Are we just stunted? Like, why don't we outgrow the first day of school?
We don't outgrow it because the psychological need for community isn't a childish phase you mature out of.
It's not.
No, it is the permanent operating system of the human brain. Those firsts we just mapped out are the unchangeable blueprint for all your future social interactions. So when you walk into that corporate glass building at 35, your brain is booting up the exact same survival software it ran in class 10.
Even though the context is completely different.
The context is absolutely irrelevant to the amygdala.
Really?
Yeah. The surface stakes look different. Sure, you are worried about a salary and mortgage now instead of recess and playground politics.
Right.
But the underlying biological imperative to find safety, to establish an in-group connection, and to locate a figurative secret hideout where you can drop your guard, that remains absolutely identical.
I gotta say, that is actually incredibly comforting.
It is, isn't it?
It strips away a lot of adult pretense.
Yeah.
It basically means every intimidating CEO, every stoic manager, everyone on the subway is essentially just a taller, slightly more exhausted version of their 10-year-old self.
Just secretly scanning the room for someone who likes reading and football. It levels the playing field entirely. And understanding that vulnerability is the perfect bridge to the flip side of these joyful connections.
Flip side.
Yeah, because if there is one mechanism that bonds human beings more tightly and more immediately than finding a shared hobby, it is the shared experience of catastrophic, unmitigated embarrassment.
Yes. Which brings us to the comedy of errors.
My favorite part.
Right. From the sweet, dopamine-highlighted memories of childhood, we're transitioning to the awkward phases. Because nothing grounds us quite like public mortification.
It's a universal experience.
The sources dedicate an entire section to this, specifically focusing on what they call cafeteria catastrophes.
Yeah, it's a great term.
And I wanted to dissect these stories, not just tell them, because the social dynamics at play here are just fascinating.
Embarrassment is the great social equalizer, honestly.
Let's look at the first story. We have a woman named Lucia.
Okay.
She is sitting in a very elegant new coffee shop in town.
Mm-hmm.
And she a specific vibe.
Oh, we've all been there.
She wants to look like a sophisticated, brooding intellectual because she is trying to impress a very handsome stranger sitting at the next table who happens to be deeply engrossed in a book.
We need to pause here and recognize the sociology of this exact moment.
Okay, sociology, let's hear it.
What Lucia is doing is constructing a curated aesthetic. She is performing her identity for an audience of one.
But why do we do that? Like, why do we care so intensely about what a total stranger reading a paperback thinks of our coffee consumption.
Because humans are hyper-aware of how they are perceived within the social hierarchy.
Interesting.
In a modern cafe, which essentially functions as a public theater, you don't have a title or a badge to signal your worth.
Right, you just have your stuff.
Exactly. You only have your props.
Yeah.
The large laptop, the thick book, the specific posture, the choice of a complex espresso drink.
It's all a show.
Right. These are all nonverbal cues designed to signal to the handsome stranger, hey, I am a high-value mate. I am intelligent, cultured, and worldly.
It is an exhausting amount of psychological effort poured into drinking a beverage.
It really is.
And it sets the stage for a spectacular fall.
Oh, no.
So she has her large coffee with milk and a croissant. And she decides to execute a sip of this coffee with Maxim-rehearsed elegance.
The pride before the fall.
But there is a hidden, fatal flaw in the environment. The barista had spilled a microscopic amount of coffee between the bottom of her ceramic cup and the small saucer it sits on.
The vacuum seal of doom.
The vacuum seal of doom. As she lifts the cup, gracefully, the saucer comes up with it, glued invisibly by the sticky, dried coffee.
This is like a slow-motion car crash.
Halfway up to her face, right as she is about to take the sip, the seal violently breaks.
Oh my God.
The saucer plummets and hits the wooden table with an explosive crash. The entire cafe goes dead silent and looks at her.
Worst nightmare.
But the physics of the disaster are just getting started.
It gets worse.
Oh yeah. The crash startles her so badly that her arm violently spasms. The large coffee, full of milk, goes flying through the air.
Please tell me it doesn't.
But it doesn't land on her. It launches horizontally, directly onto the handsome stranger's head, soaking him in his pristine white book.
It is the absolute total collapse of the curated aesthetic.
She is essentially waterboarding her crush with dairy.
That is mortifying.
Now, the source notes an incredibly wholesome twist here.
Oh, thank goodness.
Instead of screaming or causing a scene, the stranger wipes his eyes, bursts out laughing, and says he actually prefers milk in his coffee rather than in his hair.
That is incredibly smooth of him.
Right. They end up talking and become great friends. Though, the source explicitly mentions that to this day, when they go out to a cafe, he insists on carrying all the cups.
Which is a very healthy boundary for him to set.
Totally.
But the resolution of that story is vital to understanding the actual function of embarrassment.
Wait, before we get to the function, I have to bring up Carlos. Because his disaster might actually be worse.
Worse than coffee on the head. Okay, let's hear it.
Carlos is visiting a cozy little cafe in a new, small town. He walks in, he is absolutely starving, and he sees a massive, beautiful spread of food laid out on a long table.
Sounds lovely.
Cakes, pastries, sandwiches, cookies. He looks at this and assumes, bafflingly, with zero evidence, that this is a free, complimentary morning buffet provided by the cafe to all its patrons.
Which, in any modern economic climate, is a staggering leap of logic.
A completely wild assumption. But Carlos, fully believing his own delusion, grabs a plate and piles it high.
Oh, Carlos, no.
The source itemizes his theft.
Yeah.
3 massive slices of cake, 2 ham sandwiches, and 4 chocolate cookies.
That is an aggressive breakfast.
He sits down in the corner and starts eating happily. Meanwhile, he is completely oblivious to the fact that the waiter is standing behind the bar, glaring at him with a mixture of absolute confusion and pure, unadulterated rage.
I'm sweating just listening to this.
Carlos even catches the waiter's eye, smiles with a mouthful of cake, and gives a thumbs up to signal the food is delicious.
The dramatic irony is physically painful to listen to.
It reaches a boiling point when Carlos finally walks up to the counter, pulls out €2, and tries to pay just for his small coffee.
Oh, boy.
The waiter stares at him and informs him, in front of the entire establishment, that the food he just inhaled was not a complimentary buffet.
No.
It was the private, catered birthday spread for an 80-year-old grandfather.
No.
Yes. Carlos had literally just eaten half of an octogenarian's birthday party.
The sheer sinking horror he must have felt in his stomach at that exact moment.
He turns around, and the source describes him seeing a family of 10 people in the back of the cafe, just death glaring at him.
I would just walk into the ocean.
Right. He turns beet red, which I actually want to ask you about in a second, walks over, apologizes profusely to the grandfather, and has to pull out his wallet to pay for half the party.
Oh, that is brutal.
Fortunately, the 80-year-old grandfather thought the entire situation was hysterically funny, told Carlos he looked too skinny anyway, and forgave him.
The grace of the elderly saves the day once again.
It really does.
Yeah.
But let's break this down. First, why did Carlos turn beet red? Like, what is the biological purpose of blushing when you accidentally eat a stranger's ham sandwich?
Blushing is actually a fascinating involuntary physiological response, and it's unique to humans.
Aye, just humans.
Yep. When Carlos realizes his massive social transgression, his sympathetic nervous system triggers the fight or flight response, but with a specific social twist.
Okay.
The veins in his face dilate, allowing more blood to flow through. Evolutionarily, blushing is an involuntary signal of submission and appeasement.
So it's like a white flag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It visibly communicates to the angry family, hey, I recognize I have broken the social contract. I feel shame. Please do not exile me from the tribe.
Wow.
It's an apology that physically cannot be faked, which is why it so often diffuses aggression.
That makes perfect sense. The grandfather sees the blush, sees the genuine panic, and his empathy kicks in.
Right.
But there is a broader cultural phenomenon our sources touch on regarding these stories.
Which
We don't just blush in the moment. We actively bring these stories up years later. We post them online. We use hashtags like Throwback Thursday.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources mention how often we use phrases like, that takes me back. Why are we so obsessed with revisiting our own humiliation?
Well, when we revisit moments of past mortification from a safe chronological distance, we are engaging in a highly strategic form of social bonding.
Strategic?
Yeah. By publicly owning our flaws and recounting our most embarrassing blunders, like the coffee disaster or the cake theft, we signal to the current group that we are safe, imperfect, and approachable.
Right.
We are actively lowering our status to make others comfortable.
Hold on. I want to push back on the idea that this is just about making others comfortable.
Oh, how so?
You're framing it as this generous act of building empathy. But I think it's actually far more selfish and strategic than that.
Okay, I'm listening.
I think we weaponize our embarrassing stories from the past to disarm people in the present, specifically so they can't judge us for our actual current flaws.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
Right? We offer up Carlos eating the cake 10 years ago as a sacrificial anecdote. We say, look how silly I am. So that our current boss or partner doesn't look too closely at the fact that we are currently disorganized or dropping the ball in our real lives.
It's a decoy vulnerability.
Yes, a decoy vulnerability.
That is a very sharp, slightly cynical, but highly accurate read on the mechanics of charm.
Thank you.
You are describing the strategic deployment of vulnerability. Yes, if you control the narrative of your own flaws, you preemptively disarm your critics.
Exactly.
But regardless of the motivation, whether it is genuine empathy or strategic deflection, the result is the same. It acts as a critical social glue.
Because perfection is alienating.
Perfection is incredibly alienating to the human brain. When Lucia showers that stranger in coffee, the intimidating facade of the sophisticated intellectual shatters instantly.
And what replaces it is raw, messy authenticity.
Exactly. That is why they became friends. We simply do not connect over a flawless resume or a perfectly curated aesthetic. We connect over the shared human experience of accidentally calling your teacher Mom.
Which is a beautiful realization. We bond over the chaos.
We really do.
But that realization brings us to a somewhat heavier transition in our source material.
Yeah, the tone shifts a bit here.
Because if childhood and our early 20s are defined by freedom, discovery, and these wildly funny, recoverable mistakes, adulthood, as deeply outlined in the next set of sources, is characterized by something entirely different.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Adulthood is often about rigid routine, financial bills, and a slow, creeping disconnection from those vibrant, chaotic passions.
It is the psychological transition from the playground to the spreadsheet.
Let's unpack the modern morning routine detailed in the sources,
Yeah.
because it paints a stark contrast to waking up for a surprise snow day.
Very stark.
The adult morning rarely starts with a joyful jump out of bed. It starts with a negotiation.
Oh, the alarm clock negotiation.
The alarm clock goes off, and the immediate universal thought is, just 5 more minutes. It is an act of resistance to reality.
And then comes what the source brilliantly coins as the morning scroll trap.
Ugh. Yes, a trap that the vast majority of modern adults fall into before their feet even touch the floor.
Think about your own brain this morning, listener. What were the first 3 tabs open in your mind?
You reach for the phone on the nightstand, you open social media or the news, and you scroll for 5 minutes.
And instantly, you are comparing your messy, groggy reality to everyone else's highly curated, filtered highlights.
Or worse, you are absorbing global catastrophes before you've even brushed your teeth.
You are inducing a state of severe cognitive overload.
And the source has a perfect metaphor for this state. Mental laundry.
I love that phrase.
Your thoughts are cluttered, scattered, and piled up everywhere in your mind. Exactly like dirty clothes thrown all over a bedroom floor.
It's a very visceral image.
You feel entirely overwhelmed before the day has even officially begun.
I want to pause on that metaphor. Mental laundry. Cause it perfectly captures the specific low-grade, constant hum of adult responsibility.
Yeah.
Childhood stress is often acute, like a scary dog or a bad grade.
Right.
Adult stress is chronic. It is 100 small, unwashed tasks demanding your attention simultaneously.
Did I pay the electric bill?
Did I reply to that